Hello and welcome to Focus on Liberia. Welcome and welcome to yet another edition of our program Roundtable Africa here at Focus on Liberia. And as always, our chief discussant, as you can see, this gentleman is comfortably seated, and we have a special topic that he is about to analyze, to discuss, and bring to our understanding. If you are wondering what is the topic Anthony is talking about, here you have it. It is called Magufulification, from the word Magufuli. You remember John Magufuli of Tanzania, the guy who just passed, a president who has left something with his people. But Sekou is looking at Magufuli in an entirely different way. And that is why, if you are hearing me loud and clear, you need to be here. And so let me share with you what are the questions that I have for Sekou that he's going to answer for us to see how we can try to take what Magufuli did in Tanzania and bring it to Liberia, so that Liberia too, like some African countries, can become a middle income country. And so hold on, don't go anywhere. Question number one: who was President John Magufuli? That question will be answered by Sekou. Also, question number two: what is Magufulification? Big word, right? But he's going to break it down for you. And don't go anywhere, because this has to do with your Liberia. You are tested for development. You want your people not to suffer anymore. You want roads, you want electricity, you want everything for Mama Liberia. We will find that answer in Magufulification. And question number three: how can we Magufulify Liberia? Sekou will provide the answer. Also, what are the obstacles against Magufulfication? He will provide the answers. Finally, why are the field theories of development in Africa and in Liberia? Somebody got been thinking pro-pole. Somebody got been thinking mark to mantra. Somebody got been thinking open doors. Did those policies fail Liberia? Well, this is why you need to be here. Well, let me not waste your time and welcome Mr. Sekou Kelleh, the chief discussant of Roundtable Africa. Sekou, you can tell, my man, I'm excited about this one. I don't know about you. Welcome. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you, Anthony, and thanks to our viewers. Welcome you all to this edition of Roundtable Africa. I'm excited to be here. Magufulification is very interesting. We missed out last week. We apologize, but we are here today, and it's going to be very interesting.
Certainly, it will be very interesting. And at this time, we also want to register to our followers here of Roundtable Africa. Our partners, Edward Amara is not here. We're right into technology issues. We're trying to resolve it. And so we are sorry that Edward Amara is not here, who is our West African correspondent, who happened to be, the senior discussant of Roundtable Africa. But we will make that adjustment there with the technology, and we'll ensure that he gets here next time. So let's get started. Our topic, Magufulification. Let me bring in Sekou. Sekou, so Magufulification, according to the little explanation you're trying to give here, a theory of developmental approach used by John Magufuli. And so that is what I'm bringing to you. Our first question before we can go into Magufulification: who was John Magufuli, for which we have to make him the topic for today?
Thank you very much. President John Magufuli was the fifth president of Tanzania, and he passed just a few months ago. And he was elected in the year 2015 as the fifth president of the People's Republic of Tanzania. John Magufuli, before he became president, he worked as a minister in his predecessor's government. And he actually did a lot of good work before he got elected in 2015. But John Magufuli His early life, he actually attended the University of Dar es Salaam, where he obtained a degree in chemistry and even obtained a PhD as well. And then he was actually brought up in a political party that was founded by Julius Nyerere, the first president of the country. And the name of the party is Chama Cha Mapinduzi. Now, you can see that even the name of the party is in their mother tongue.
That's right.
Yes, so that is very interesting for you to highlight right there. So the name of the party is Chama Cha Mapinduzi. And what's the ideology of this party? The ideology of this party is called Ujamaa. Ujamaa is a Kiswahili word which means some people translate it as African socialism, but they call it African communitarism. That is development as a community, bringing the community together, or development from the grassroots. That's what they call Ujamaa. So their philosophy is that in modernization with industrialization, that you cannot have modernization without industrialization. That is the philosophy of this party. So Magufuli was brought as a young man, growing up, his entire militancy and political life were within this party. So he was taught by Joseph Nyerere and some of the people who were pushing this ideology at that time, that the only way we can lift up a country from being poor is by industrialization. So this Ujamaa philosophy is what Magufuli learned throughout his early life from high school before he got to the university. When he got elected in 2015, he did 5 things that shocked the whole nation. First, John Magufuli decided the Independence Day celebration. Immediately he got elected, not too long was the Independence Day celebration. So they brought a budget for him to sign, and the budget was 4 billion Tanzanian shillings. When you convert that, that is 1.7 million United States dollars. So he said, we want to use them for celebration of Independence Day. They said, yes, sir. To drink and marry and have wine, he said, yes, sir. He said, this money should be invested in our infrastructure. We got a lot of ongoing projects in the country. People are suffering. What is the meaning of independence when we have people dying of malaria and cholera in this country, and we are using $1.7 million to celebrate an independence? He said the Independence Day will be used for cleaning. We all go out there and clean our neighborhood and then reflect upon our nation. Let this money be tailored towards other projects.
On the nation's Independence Day, Sekou, hold on there. On the nation's Independence Day, yes, when there should be ceremonies going on, he said, we're going to turn it into a cleanup campaign, because how independent are you when you are dirty? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what you are hearing. Is that our neighborhood are dirty, the gutters are not clean, and you are using $1.7 million to celebrate and eat and drink because you got independence from Britain. Independence means we should be steering our own affair, and we are not doing it well for our people. So let this money be tailored towards infrastructure development, and let all the ministers and everybody put on their bullet, get in the gutter and clean our country on Independence Day. Then the nation knew then that they elected a different man. He made the second move the same year. They have the Commonwealth meeting in Britain, and there were 55 delegate members supposed to go, and they were supposed to spend $500,000 in hotel to relax. He said, why do we have embassies? If we have embassies to represent us in UK, if there's any meeting, only the foreign minister can go, and then with the ambassador. We don't have to send 55 people. That money should be used to buy beds in the hospitals. John Magufuli did that. He sliced his cabinet from 39 to just 19. He said, we don't need 39 ministers. We just need 19. John Magufuli decided to visit the National Hospital as early as 8 o'clock in the morning. Before the doctors got there, he was in the hospital and decided to check all the facilities. He discovered that none of the facilities in the hospital were working. There was no medicine. The hospital bed, 2-3 people were on the bed. He called the entire hospital board together. He said, what is going on? They said, oh, nothing is working. There is no money. Investigation found out that all the doctors in that hospital, they got their own private pharmacy. Wow. So they have their own private pharmacy and private clinic. So then they were killing the national hospital, redirecting patients to their private clinics and their private pharmacy. For that reason, the national hospital was dying. He sacked the entire hospital board and to employ a new one and give them 3 days to revive the hospital. And within 3 days, that hospital became the best place in the entire nation.
In
John
3 days.
Magufuli, within 3 days, the hospital was revived, new beds came in, all the equipment started working. So people said, if anything is not working in your life, you need Magufulification, because Magufuli is a medicine. So just for introduction, John Magufuli, the first president of Tanzania, is a man who was able to lift up a poor country from the dust and bring it to a middle-income country within 5 years.
Hold on, Sekou. Something I'm missing. For this guy to have come to the presidency in Tanzania and being so intentional, meaning he knew what he wanted to do and how to do it. Earlier, when you were speaking, you talked about his upbringing, his education, his training, the schools he went to, the philosophy that he learned as a young man, the political institution that he associated with, their belief system at the time. Those things made him the Magufuli he was. So this one we're going to make it political. We'll contrast Magufulification with Liberia. Today, we have a president. He came from the slum. I would want to think Magufuli too came from the ranks and file of the slum dwellers in Tanzania. So he saw poverty. And so when he came to power, he wanted to see what he experienced, the unfortunate situation he had experienced. He wanted to change it and make it better. So what is different about John Magufuli that is not in our leaders, for which when we get one, they are not intentional about changes from the get-go? What is missing?
Right. See, the first day, they said if your day will be good, you start to know from the very early morning as you wake up. That's how people say it's a parable. When our president took office, the first thing he did was to demolish his home, his old house, and began to build some luxurious building and began to put a new structure for himself. Now, that's a bad sign. I don't care who says the man is good, it's his own money, but just what John Magufuli did, he didn't go to his village and start building houses. He began to make moves that show to the nation that there's a new sheriff in town. Now, the difference between John Magufuli and our current leader, John Magufuli, is that John Magufuli, first of all, had a political and ideological training. He was brought up in a party called Chama Cha Mapinduzi, and the ideology of that party is Ujamaa. So that is communitarism, socialism, how to develop a nation from the grassroots. So John Magufuli, from the get-go, he had a training. Yeah, he's from poor background, but coming from poor background is not enough. Do you have the competence? Do you have the knowledge? Because there's a difference. Anthony, you love me, I'm your brother, and you bought a plane, and you said, Sekou, because I love you, I want you to be the pilot. No, you love me, but I'm not a pilot. I don't have the training. If you put me in that plane, we're going to have crash, and your life is in danger, my life is in danger. So you are going to hire a pilot who is competent, not because you don't love me, but because I don't have the credentials. I don't have the training. John Magufuli was not an accident. He was trained through a political institution, a political party that already set out the ideology to train visionaries. And he was the product of a political party. So the Chama Cha Mapinduzi is what produced John Magufuli. So there was no political training. John Weah was not a product of any political ideology. You don't come and say Congress for Democratic Change. What does it mean? What are you changing? What are you changing? You don't know what you want to change.
And Sekou, what you are saying reminds me of the saying by Thomas Sankara. I don't know if you remember that a soldier without an ideology
is a criminal in uniform.
It's a criminal in uniform. So Weah and Magufuli have some similarities. One, they both came from poor backgrounds. They both were commoners, if I can put it that way.
Yes.
But unlike we are, Magufuli had an ideology.
Yes.
A conscious one for that matter. He was not about himself. When he came to the picture, he was about the people. His first act of business, like you said, the people got to know that a sheriff was in town. But we are, on the other hand, was building mansions for himself. Whereas Magufuli, when he was given the opportunity to serve his people, he made it about the people and the country. Well, let's leave it there. Let me progress. We're going to make it political right now. So, those watching us, because of Magufuli, there was this term that was coined, Magufulification. And Sekou going to break it down for us, but let me share something that Sekou sent me here. Magufulification, in short, is a theory of developmental approach. So it's a theory, it's an approach of how one goes about developing a country. So Sekou, let me bring back my question. What is, in details and specific terms, is Magufulification?
It was in the year 2017 the Kenyan professor called P.L.O. Lumumba. He's well known. He was in Liberia a few years back.
Yeah.
So P.L.O. Lumumba is he's a motivational speaker. He's a Pan-Africanist and opinion leader on the African continent. So he visited Tanzania and saw the level of development within 3 years. That 2017 was just about a few years after John Magufuli took office. So he gave a speech at the University of Dar es Salaam. He said, what this man did, if he was still in opposition saying it, people would say, where will you get the money? But how did Magufuli raise money and achieve this development within this short period of time? He said the approach that John Magufuli used, a developmental approach, we have to give it a name, and it's called Magufulification. So I decided to look at what Magufuli did, and I came with my own definition.
Okay.
So Magufulification is a theory of development that is about anti-imperialism.
Okay.
I will define that later. Anti-corruption, anti-waste spending or overspending, patriotism, and industrialization without delay. That's the way I define it. So I will break it down. The anti-imperialism aspect is not to go on the street and say, munya, 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 we hate white people. No, it's not about slogan. It's a paradigm. So when you have an anti-imperialist, that is all the contract that was signed by multinational corporation, foreign interest, American, European company, Chinese company. The contract that are signed, are they in the interest of the nation, or they are in the interest of the politician, or in the interest of few people? You have to revisit all bilateral the document that have been signed. Revisit them. Are they in the interest of the nation? Does the nation benefit? Does the common man in the country benefit? Or it is the 1% that are on top that are sharing the cake with the multinational corporation? So Magufuli decided to visit all the companies in the country that signed contract with the previous government. He found out that most of them were not paying taxes. They had some corrupt deal that they did with the previous government. They were having tax breaks. They were having a lot of privileges. He sued some of them. They were able to pay you 400 million just because he suspended their mining license. There were mining malpractices that were going on in the country. In fact, there's a company in UK that was cut. The lot of corruption they did, they were able to pay fine worth over $400 million. That is the anti-imperialism aspect. Anti-corruption. John Magufuli discovered that you cannot fight corruption from the bottom. You have to start from the top. You have to start from yourself. So he said, look, he declared his asset public. Everybody know what he has before he got into office. Published in newspapers. Then all the ministers, he said, no more foreign trips in first class. Everybody have to fly business class, and no more having conferences in fancy hotels. We should be having conferences in our office boardrooms and we should be able to reduce the money. And he went ahead and reduced all the ghost workers. He checked the list in the country. He discovered that there were a lot of ghost workers in the country that were receiving money. He dealt with corruption to a point. The country, his name was the bulldozer. That's the anti-corruption, anti-waste spending or overspending.
Sekou, hold on. You broke through there. You said he earned the nickname bulldozer. All right.
Bulldozer.
Because our current president has a lot of nicknames too. So we'll look into that later. Go ahead.
Yeah. So now when you see the common people, when they gave you name, because the ordinary men on the street, they are very sincere. They don't take their statistics from the World Bank. They take their statistics from the Lagos sugar bear they buy in the market. They take their statistics from the price of rice that they buy from the market, the tomato. They know when it's increasing or it's decreasing. So when they saw the move Magufuli were making for the anti-corruption, they said, this man is the bulldozer. This is the man we've been waiting for in this country. The ordinary people, even the opposite, people that were in the opposite party, they said, no, if Jesus Christ was real, I think we got our own. This is the ordinary people, how they were calling John Magufuli.
So Magufulification, according to your definition,
anti-corruption,
anti-imperialism,
anti-overspending,
wasteful spending, cut off,
patriotism,
love for country,
and
industrialization, putting the people to work through industries and factories and complaints. That is your definition. Now, and you said when he was implementing this developmental approach called Magufulification, with all these 4 pointers in it, he earned a nickname. And that nickname, you said, was a bulldozer. And it was not something just on the surface. The people started realizing that in the prices, they saw the roads, they saw the hospitals transform, they saw officials who were riding big cars were now riding big cars. They saw that contractual agreements were being renegotiated, and they were in the interest of the people this time around and not the elite of governing class. And so the people felt that this man is boasting those, to the extent that some people said, well, if there was anything called Jesus Christ, this is our Jesus Christ. But let me bring you to this in Liberia. There are Liberians like Magufuli who have given our current president, some call him Dr. Weah, nicknames. They call him Barrow Medicine. They call him Feminine in Chief. I'm going to put you in trouble here today, Sekou. Are you telling me these names being given to him are not realistic or realistic? Where do you stand?
They are not realistic because they are not consistent with the reality. You see, there's a difference between when sycophants and your partisans giving you names and sugarcoating everything. We know the type of politics that we have in Africa. Every political party tried to raise a messiah who actually turned out to be a curse. But George Weah, the names that you are telling right now come from within his political cycle. These are his spray singers, his surrounding. These are the people who are getting some of the drop of the milk. And people belong to the political party. They are the one giving him this name. Unlike Weah, Magufuli was praised by people across the political board, including his critics, okay? Including people, ordinary people. They're saying, look, we didn't have this. There was no electricity in this country. All of a sudden, everybody have electricity. Bad roads. How is this man constructing roads all over? We have train station now. We have ferries. We travel all around. Transport system is good. We have a dam, the Renaissance Dam that is now giving us electricity. The industry everywhere. We are now able to.
Is that electricity stable, or is it like my LEC that goes off and on?
No way, it's stable. Now, when we say he lifted the country to a middle income country, this is World Bank, European Union, people who actually he he is not really in good book with them because he's actually going against their policy. But they came out and said, this man performed a magic. Within 5 years, he was able to move this country to a middle-income country. Now, let's go to Dr. Weah. What has he done? What has the Propo really produced? Can we look at the figures? Okay, in Liberia, the ordinary man, what they know is the US rate. So let's go there. Has the rate increased or decreased? We know the ordinary man, has the bag of red price increased or it has decreased. What has the Propo really done? What are the concrete evidence that we can see? All this praise singing, and Ellen was called an angel. There were people dancing on the street, praising the same Ma Ellen. Some people wanted her to go for third term. So we have these kind of people. But when a president is good, you get to tell from the figures. You got to tell from the evidence, and even across the political board, you begin to see people say, we don't like him, but I think he has done something.
Focus on Liberia, Roundtable Africa. I'm Anthony here, moderating, and our chief discussant, as always, is Mr. Sekou Kelleh. Roundtable Africa comes on every Wednesday here at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, but due to some technical issues, we came on today at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. You want to follow Roundtable Africa. This is a show like no other in the Liberian community. We don't only discuss Liberia. We discuss Africa because Liberia is part of Africa. And we look at topics from around the continent of Africa. We analyze them and we give you a broader picture so you can see with your eyes open your Liberia, my Liberia. You're just listening to Sekou. Unlike President Weah, when John Magufuli came to the picture, it was about the people. The people saw the rate. He said, you know the US rate? Everybody knows it, right? Everybody knows the price for a cup of rice. Everybody understands when it comes to transportation. And he asking me, Anthony, can anybody in Liberia raise a finger to say since Dr. Weah came to power, a price of this particular commodity dropped? You might find it difficult to name me one. So how come these names like, what's his name, Bio medicine coming from? Is that a little road that he lived in that community? Is that what? John Magufuli was building miles and miles, building railroads. He brought electricity stable. It's not your LEC that is going off and on. He was not about Chinese, what they call light, that goes off and on. Anyway, let's leave it there. I just wanted you to see it from another lens. But Sekou, there is a question here. Now that the theory called Magufulification has worked in Tanzania, a question is, can we in Liberia use the idea of development called Magufulification? Can we Magufulify Liberia? And if your answer is yes, how?
Thank you. Yes, we can Magufulify Liberia. I am not a pessimist, and then also I am not an optimist. I'm a realist. I look at the reality of the thing and I weigh it. Yes, we can Magufulify Liberia, but we need the right minds in office. Let's look at the definition of Magufulification. First point is anti-imperialism. That is imperial economic system. Whoever takes office in Liberia, have you called Firestone, Lamco, all these companies that have been operating in Liberia, are they in the interest of the Liberian people, or they are there to take out cheap labor, sign dubious deal with our leaders, and be able to rip off the country? Who has challenged Firestone? Yes, Ellen did on TV, then suddenly undercover, they went and settled it. All these companies that have been in our country, Dr. Weah, when he took over, he said Liberian will no longer be spectator. Okay, where are we? How many entrepreneurs has he produced under his government? How many millionaires has Liberia produced? How many Liberian company and industry are flourishing? Come on now. So the anti-imperialism is not for you to go on TV and say, I hate America, I hate. It's not about that. It's about fact and figures. It's about the document you signing, the bilateral agreement, these multinational corporation companies that are coming in. Are they coming to benefit from cheap labor? Are they coming to sign dubious contracts with our lawmakers and then rip the country up? But we have no roads, we have no electricity. How can you have a company like Firestone operating that country for years, and that very community that they suffer for electricity, roads,
Yep,
and
since
that the
1926,
people are not.
since 1926.
1926, what are the benefits that people get here? Here in the Western world, they know that if somebody even got injured, they know the benefit that you're going to receive from a company. A lot of people went through hell in Firestone. They got nothing. Sometimes to even get their benefit, they have to protest because they are not protected by the state. The government doesn't care. Why they don't care? Because they receive brown envelope from Firestone, Lamco, all these companies. So they are selling our people. That's what we call economic imperialism. These companies from outside, they don't care. If you are selling your people as slaves, they will gladly buy them. If you are selling cheap labor, they will gladly buy. But if you protect your people, if you say, my citizen come first, and whatever we sign, as long as the nation does not benefit, I don't care what you give me. John Magufuli has almost $1 billion contract with China. This contract, I think, was about building the port. You can Google it. They were supposed to extend their seaport and make it big and make it one of the best in Africa. And then in exchange, the Chinese wanted to build Chinatown, to build a city where they would transport some Chinese and bring them. John Magufuli said, yes, we can make profit from this port. Yeah, we will make money if we let you put some money in our pocket, but I will be selling my nation, selling the future of this country by allowing you people to come here and become new colonialists. He said, take your billion and leave my country in 24 hours. The Chinese could not believe it. He said, take your billion. We are here to build Tanzania for Tanzania. Do we have a leader that will Magufulify Liberia by going against imperialist economic system that oppresses our people? That's one point. Then anti-corruption. It's not enough to be passing legislation to have anti-corruption meeting, anti-corruption board. No, once the leader is not corrupt, it's impossible for him to be surrounded by corrupt people. Difficult. When you see corrupt people surviving around a leader, there is something wrong with the leader. Because when you are not corrupt and you go after corrupt people, you begin with your friends, your best friends, your family members, you cut them off. Then people begin to know that you are serious. But when the leader is corrupt, he is kind of docile when it comes to fighting corruption. He only comes on TV and makes beautiful speeches and say, we will investigate that and investigate it. And there is no way, always the investigation does not conclude. Always inconclusive investigation. When you have that kind of leader, corruption will strive. Anti-corruption is also not just stealing. It's when the legislature begin to earn money that almost, I don't know, 2-3% of the budget of the country just go into one institution. These people earn a lot of money, and then the entire nation, teachers are not paid, nurses are not paid, civil servants are not paid, but the people in the Senate and the House, they are earning thousands and thousands of dollars. That is corruption being legalized. It's not only when you steal money back door, when you write fraudulent documents to enrich the 1% and impoverish the nation, it's called legalized corruption. So anti-corruption must be fought, and those who will fight it must begin with themselves. You don't do questionable projects for yourself, and that cannot be justified, and you say you're fighting corruption. So to Magufulify Liberia, we need a corruption-free leader. We need a leader that is clear-headed and understands the imperialist economic system. The next one is patriotism. Do you really love the country and the people? And people think that patriotism is something that we sing music. You know, you sing a song, I love Liberia. That's not being patriotic, it's an action. It's something that you show. It's not words. It's not things that you write in beautiful articles. No, if you are patriotic, you sacrifice for the nation. You gave up riches, comfort, and all other things for the benefit of the majority. That's what patriotism is. But I want to tell Liberians, patriotism is not something that you will put in people by singing song. It is something that we need to teach the children right from school and even in the political institution. All the political parties, even in the that are in opposition. When I watch men like Henry Pedro Costa, let me digress a little bit.
Do so.
Going to the United States, taking picture in front of Pentagon and saying that, oh, Liberia problem is solved, running to foreign nations to sanction their government because they are not happy. That kind of adversarial politics is not patriotism. When you are patriotic and the government of the day is not going well, you face the government. It is the people. Raise the public opinion because no government is powerful than its people. Once the people realize that the government is doing bad, they will rise against the government. But you do not invite foreign states to undermine your government. You do not invite foreign power to come and undermine your government because you don't like the government. When you do that, you are not patriotic. So people in the opposition also have obligation to teach patriotism. They are not there to bring down the state. They are not there running around lobbying for people to sanction the state because they don't like the leadership in power. I do not call that patriotism. And patriotism is not only those in power, even those in opposition are also implicated in this. So patriotism must be taught in school. The political institution, political parties must begin to produce visionaries on their platform. Just like Magufuli was a product of Chama Mapinduzi, let us see political parties producing young visionaries in Liberia. Can ANC produce young visionaries who understand the situation and love Liberia? Can the UP do that? Or are we going to recycle people who are going to do the same thing over and over? Then waste spending or overspending. The waste spending is everywhere. You look in the government. We are came in, he tried to make some moves here and there, harmonizing. But we find out later all these things were dubious. They were not faithful. They were not really clear. They were doing this thing to enrich themselves. We have reported the other time that some people did, when the harmonizing were done, they cut the salary of their workers, but they refused to send the money to the Ministry of Finance. They were pocketing that amount of money. How true is that report? I don't know. But these are things that we have to look at. People need to be patriotic, and the government need to do everything possible to cut spending. You don't have leaders flying for medical tourism, going abroad. If they think the hospital they build in the country is good enough, then they should not fly to go for treatment in Ghana. If you think the military hospital you built is good enough, then your ministers and your government officials should not travel abroad for treatment. Let them go there and receive treatment and tell the people, this is where we receive treatment, so this is equality. But when you guys fly out because you have the national budget in your hand, the country money is not in your hand, so you fly everywhere to have treatment. When you are not there tomorrow, what happens? The next group that come in, they also begin to do that. So our government become a national cake that everybody trying to cut your piece. It's not like our building nation. So Magufulification or Magufulifying Liberia is possible if we follow this theory of development: anti-imperialism, anti-corruption, avoid waste spending, patriotism, and industrialization without delay. What are we talking about when we talk about industrialization? The first thing for a country to be industrialized is power, electricity, energy. If you don't solve that problem, because there are people who are self-employed in that country, they are electricians, some are welders, some are mechanics. They need that electricity to do a lot of stuff without government job. Some people are selling cold water. They just need electricity and they will be facing their cool air and be making money. The first step toward industrialization is energy, electricity. Build a significant project. Take up a project like building a dam or something, a power plant. Not just putting few level here and there. These are just short-term. What about long-term development that will electrify the country? Take up a good project that will set up either a dam, a hydro dam, or set up a power plant that will be able to supply the country. Once you have electricity, you are one step ahead when it comes to industrialization. The next step will be infrastructure. Then infrastructure is just road. And once you have those, people in the agricultural sector can be able to transport their product from the farm into the city, and industrialization have started. You don't have to bring the German companies, the Chinese company before they say you have started industrialization. No, just fix the issue of energy, power, electrify the country, people have energy, a lot of private businesses will open. Right there, you've created job for people without making a lot of noise.
Sekou Kelleh is the chief discussant of Roundtable Africa issue like no other, only also in the Liberian community, where we look at the issue in our African context, in our Pan-African understanding, and try to bring it to Liberia so that we can have that black country of Africa develop in a way that will provide all the opportunities for everybody and not just a select few. Sekou answered the question, and the question was, how can we Magufunify Liberia? I like the answers he provided. Let me share with you for those of you who missed it when he started. First, he said, in order for us to Magufunify Liberia, to use the John Magufuli theory of development to turn Liberia into a middle-income country, a leader who is selected by the people, elected by the people, must be against what I call imperialistic investment. The kind of investment brought into the country, cutting sweetheart deals for those corporations or companies that come in and robbing our people of nearly everything and leaving them with absolutely nothing. Look at the investments that we have in our country. Go to those settings, those investment settings. What do you see? Do you see signs of, good life for our people? Of course not. So, in order to Magufunify Liberia, we must be able to get rid of these kind of investment that are not in the interest of our people. B, he said, the leader or you, the leader, must be against corruption. This is the one that is killing us. And corruption can be in all forms. Their budget, you see, is in the roof. President walking away with $6 million budget. Their pay alone in a year is around $300,000. Lawmakers just about the same. Whereas they will budget $250,000, not $250,000, $200,000 for a county. Our president is walking away with $3 million in his pocket, and that is not his entire budget. That is just his budget, but his entire office when he took over was around 26 million. Can you imagine that? That is corruption. Magufuli did not do that. The first attempt was on the people. Unlike Magufuli, our president was building his mansion. So, in order for us to use the John Magufuli theory, which is called Magufulification, the leader elected must be against corruption. He talked about patriotism. That leader must be patriotic. Bring the people together and tell them this is our country. Show the people love, the people show you love. You show the country love by the things you do, and not just putting few people who are within your party to celebrate you as the king in the town. And that when you gather at your political rally, they sing songs that elevate you as a deity. It's unfortunate. Our fathers didn't do that. When there was ceremony, yes, the chiefs were respected. They were respected for what they were doing in the interest of their people. Now, when you take a $26 million budget for the Ministry of Presidential Affairs, and you give the country $200,000 and you want the people to love you and celebrate you for that. Also, you must be able to industrialize the country. It's Liberia being industrialized. We're all talking about agriculture, agriculture. We've been singing this song. Magufuli, when he came, he built a dam, railroads, roads. Sekou, correct me here. I believe I was watching a documentary that showed an airline.
Yes.
An airline. Since our president Kini been trying to do the airline thing, when they tried to launch this airline called Wings of Liberia, the Lone Star, we saw a cake before the president. But when John Magufuli was launching the airline for the people of Tanzania, we saw the actual jet. What is going on here? And Sekou, to your definition, you also mentioned in order for us to use the Magufuli theory of approach in development in Liberia, our leaders must do away with wasteful spending.
Absolutely.
Spending, Samuel Tuer spent around $25,000. You remember, folks, when they were going to China to change the t-shirt, Samuel Tuer spent 25,000 United States dollars. That is what he did just to go to China. When they came from China, what did they bring for Liberia? Zero. Zero. And that trip, Sekou, let me remind you, I follow these things. They went with over 52% on their team. But when Magufuli was traveling, the highest number of persons you will see will be less than 10. He would tell the people in that country, we have our ambassador. We have people representing us. They will join the delegation to represent our country. In Liberia, what we see, when the president is coming to the United Nations, he comes with around 50 people. Sekou, I was disgusted. I think it's the most recent one when the president came. He came with a good number of his partisans. In the street of New York, they were dancing the same songs that they danced at their party headquarters in Liberia. They did that here in America. Tell me that suggests any seriousness on the part of any leader. Why Marabio was having meetings at Harvard with business people. Our president was locked up in a hotel and his delegates were dancing in the streets of New York because they have come to see America for the first time. They have forgotten their brothers and sisters. They live in Claratown and Logantown and all those slum communities. They were dancing here because they came and saw the light. I have experienced hunger before, so I will not behave like that. But Sekou, to your definition, I want to ask something. In order for us to Magufulify Liberia, whoever the leader that we elect, no, that is not the one I wanted to show, this is it. Whoever we elect must be a man of justice. We don't have one in our country. President Weah and his party campaigned that they were going to do justice by the Liberian people to bring the war crime court. Where is it? It doesn't even talk about it. Jefferson Koji doesn't talk about it. None of them want to talk about it. Instead, Bamba Moru is friend with, what's his name? Prince Johnson. I was disgusted to my stomach when I saw Mamba Molu was with Prince Johnson, and Prince Johnson was touring him, showing him a university that Prince Johnson building. And the last time I saw Prince Johnson at CDC headquarters, this is the CDC that took caskets around town, symbolizing the death of the 250,000 Liberians that were killed, and that they would do everything to bring the war crime court to Liberia. What they are doing now, they are dancing in corruption. They have forgotten where they have come from. Well, Magufulification is here. Folks, we will take a short break. When we come back, we have two more questions that Sekou will be talking about. Number one, what are the obstacles against Magufulification? What are the possible obstacles? What are the potential obstacles in our effort to Magufulify our country, Liberia? Sekou will provide that. And finally, when we come back, Why are the failed theories of development in Africa and your Liberia, my Liberia, where it be that open door policy Omen Todman was talking about? Well, Sekou has the answer. I don't have it, but I will come there too to talk my own. Folks, you are watching Roundtable Africa here, Focus on Liberia, a program like no other. We will take a short break and we will be right back. Don't go anywhere because the answers will be educational. Stay tuned. Bye-bye. All right, folks, we are back with you here on our program, Roundtable Africa, where Sekou Kelleh is our chief discussant. I'm Anthony Cyr, moderating here. Thank you for staying with us. We still have 2 questions left for our chief discussant to provide answers for us so that you can leave here educated, empowered, and inspired for a Liberia that we all want. But before we can bring in those questions, for Sekou to do what he does best, let's take your comments quickly. Let's hear from Tanem Patricia Lewis, my own crew brother, couldn't read my comments the live show. For what reason, I don't know. Tanem Patricia Lewis, if I did, it was an oversight. It was not intentional. I apologize. You feel that way. Magufulification is a process, Anthony Nimler writes. And let's hear from Roosevelt Krumah. We had battery factory, chicken soup factory, biscuit factory, but all were destroyed during the war. Who is now willing to open up some of these factories when some of the people minds are not set? I see that Rabbo Monsieur Pade of the One People Revolutionary Movement is watching. My revolutionary salute to you, CM brother. He is the chief discussant of our program, The Opposition Perspective. He's fearless. We'll continue with our comments here. Anthony Nimler, our president, we cannot function without the support of the people, including the opposition. No, he does not need opposition to function. No, 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 no. Obama, when he was president in America, the Republican Party said no to everything. Everything. And yet he succeeded. And so is Joe Biden today. Republicans are yet to say yes to a single thing, even a bill for coronavirus relief. Republicans said no. Joe Biden is succeeding. No government needs an opposition to succeed. I disagree with that. I can beat you in a debate any day on that. So, but that's your opinion, and I must respect that. Let's hear from Roosevelt again. He's busy. You cannot compare the Ellen Johnson government to that of Dr. George Manawia's government. But you fail to know that Ellen Johnson came from war, and money sent in the country was more than compared to the present government. There are some truth there. So much money was flowing into this country, and George knew that, and he said he was going to do it better. He told us, they told us he had a contact to bring in the money. He was well connected. So what are you talking about? Oh, it's a malice in the little that we have now. That's a no, 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 no. Well, let me read comments. I'm not picking bone here. Now you hear from Mr. Gonglo. When will the line be open for interaction? He is tested to participate very soon. I wonder what is the level of education. I don't know whether he's talking about me. Henry Mumba, I am a first grade student. Oh, okay, they are having their little debate here. I don't want to be part of it. The big books in Liberia have caused Mama Liberia be as it is today. Oh, well, please write it better. Let's see here. Liberians are focused on what the president is not doing, whereas they are the very same people embezzling, cheating, and expecting the president to be the justice minister, chief of police, medical doctor, secretary, and pimping operator. He is drifting from the debate. Let me move on to Anthony. Anthony is the same man basic. It is very difficult to deal with us. You have you ever observed our Senate in session? Please do and let us know. The Senate is a disappointment. They have failed our people, and you are justifying because they're not doing what the president should not do well. Come on, Anthony. You can do better, my friend. Let's hear from Anthony again. Let the people begin holding their leaders accountable. We have an agreement. And Sekou, let me tell you something. The last comment from Anthony here, let the people hold the leaders accountable. I agree. Liberians don't stand for anything, nothing. I don't know of a protest action in Liberia that lasted for a unique or complete day. Never in our history. I don't know that. Someone will have to tell me. I'm not talking about war, but I'm talking about protest where citizens have come together to hold their leaders accountable. Never. In America, it's the opposite. In my home state of Minnesota, because of the young man that was killed, people protested yesterday in the rain and the snow. The temperature was below 30. And that was the fourth, I think, no, the second day of protest. The June 7 protest I are a part of, after 5 hours, they walk away. Yes, Anthony, you are right. Liberians do not stand for anything. Our leaders are stealing money. 4 auditors got killed in Liberia in the period of 8 days. Not a single protest was launched by the opposition people. Not anybody will protest for days, but a single person got killed by the police. The people are marching for days until we Liberians try to stand up in a peaceful manner, romantic working day, like the man of India, help me here, Sekou, what's his name?
In India.
The Indian revolutionary leader.
Gandhi.
Gandhi, thank you, Sekou. Like Gandhi did. The march, it was not a one-day march, it was for days, and they got resolved. And so when we cry and cry and cry, we are wasting our time. But Sekou, time is fast spent. Let's roll in our last 2 questions here. What are the obstacles to Magufulification or against Magufulification? We need to Magufulify Liberia. What are some possible obstacles? And finally, because of time, what are the failed theories of development in Africa and Mama Liberia? Your time, Sekou. Go to work.
Yes. So to the first question, what are the obstacles against Magufulification in Liberia or Africa? First obstacle is the lack of progressive political institution that will produce visionary leaders. You see, the political parties are supposed to be institutions that produce the people, good minds, that produce intellectuals, that produce competent people that will steer the affair of the nation. So if you do not have a progressive party, there is no way that party is going to produce visionaries and revolutionaries. It doesn't happen by accident. Magufuli is a product of Chairman Mapinduzi, a political party founded by Julius Nyerere, a Pan-African president of the country, who founded our party with the ideology of Ujamaa. And they were not having young people on the street singing Munya Munya. No, they were having classes, seminars, workshops, telling those young people what is at stake. The nation, the future, the economic, politics, industrialization, these are things that are at stake. So they produce young visionaries. So the obstacle to Magufulification in Liberia, to be specific, is the lack of political party, progressive political institution that will produce visionary leaders. The parties we have, UP, ANC, what are they doing? They are copying CDC. They are looking for sycophants that will dance for them on the street. They are looking for people that will tell them, yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you are in a party, I will give a little example here because I just resigned from my own party, and it's not to make a beef here with anybody, but this is the truth, my own story. So I joined this party called the Economic Freedom Fighter of Liberia. So when I joined, I became the diaspora leader of this party.
No, Sekou, I don't think it was a party. It was like a political
pressure
group.
It was a political pressure group. We actually tried to register as a political party. We've gone through the process.
Okay, good.
We've done the process and everything. It's only the certification that has been delayed. And we know the sitting government is the one delaying it. But that was what was going on. So we were having rallies, protests, and all that. We have our deal. I even participated in writing the constitution, writing the what we call the Liberian Dream, an entire economic, political, and social plan and program. So the leader of this party somehow became, made friends with the ruling party and decided to endorse one of their candidates in Kakata without informing the party. And this individual he was endorsing has a different political ideology, different philosophy. He doesn't share our aspiration and our dream. So I came in, I said, leader, you did wrong. What you did is a betrayal of the party. You need to meet the caucus. The party needed to do their own background investigation if this person is good enough for our party to endorse. So for me speaking out, they decided to suspend me. That why did I talk to the leader in that manner? So they wanted me to be a praise singer and said, whenever the leader says, it's amen and amen. I said, no, you are making a mistake. I'm a revolutionary. I'm a Pan-African revolutionary, and I believe in democratic institutions, that everything that the leader does, he has to be in consultation with his body. And the ideology of the party must be respected. The leadership have to respect the ideology and philosophy of the party. Then you become mentor to the younger ones. That's how you produce young visionary and revolutionaries, so that when they are doing something, they say, what will that leader do? If they are facing economic or corruption challenges, they say, what will that leader do? So they use you as, they emulate your example. That's how you produce visionary. But when you have people, you are looking for sycophants, praise singers, then you are going to produce liars. You are going to produce corrupt people who will take over tomorrow and do worse. If you remove we are today and bring in someone, they will be worse than we are in the same party, because they are all they've been taught is to worship the idol. So the lack of visionary political institutions, serious-minded people to produce good leaders is the problem. It's not just the government, it's even in the opposition. Up till now, I've been searching the website. Someone told me to join Alexander Kumi, he's a good guy. So I said, does he have a website where I can go and look at his political ideology and philosophy, his plan, his why, how, and when? I want to read that. They say, oh no, it will be ready, but you have to wait. What? Somebody who is almost wants to become president? I said, no, thank you. I can't join that kind of movement. You see, who are you preparing young people? Are you teaching them? Are there some ideology and visionary leadership that you are bringing into this party that will teach young people to take over tomorrow? We don't have that. So without this, it's impossible. The second obstacle is what I call adversarial politics. The politics of cutthroat. If I'm not in power, I have to make sure the leadership is frustrated. If I'm not taking part in the eating, then I have to make sure the pot doesn't boil. I have to make sure I destroy it. This is the kind of opposition we have. They are not constructive in their criticism. They do not go out and give out the figures and say, look, Mr. President or the government in power, here is the map. Here are the figures. Here are the facts. You just go and then attack the person's personality like every Costa does, attack the person's mother, go personal, attack their family member, adversarial politics. That's not politics. Let's go after the person's ideology and their philosophy, their program, not go after their families, their wives, how many wives, how many girlfriends they have. That's not our business. Okay? That's the kind of politics we have back home. We are checking how many girlfriends my opposition has. No, that's not why we are here. We are here to find out the mandate that has been given, that have been entrusted with this person. Has he delivered or not? Do we have evidence to show that this person, Up till now, all the journalists we have in the country and the opposition, nobody has been able to investigate how we have built those houses, to produce some kind of document, to prove investigative journalism, to prove that, look, this is what this is how this guy built this house. Here is the evidence. Here's the, but all we're doing is accusing the man on Facebook, and there is no evidence. So we don't need that kind of politics. Adversarial politics only leads to war. It leads to civil unrest. And like you said about protest, peaceful protest. Protest doesn't mean you have to go vandalize people's shops, break street. No, peaceful protest is the most effective weapon against any government. Don't destroy. Stand your ground on the street until the government bows to your request. You don't have to attack. When you do that, no government can defeat its people. Nowhere. Even America, with all its power, it cannot defeat its own people. A government has to bow to the request of its people. If you try to defeat your own people, it's like you shoot yourself in the leg. So if Liberians learn to go away from adversarial politics, attack the issue, protest peacefully, and go out there and say, be specific with your demands and stand your ground, you will get it. The president does not sleep if people stand on the street. No president, no government is at peace when there are thousands of people standing on the street peacefully holding placards. These are the kind of politics that we want. So visionary political institutions that are progressive and are able to produce visionary leaders. What we need to drive away from adversarial politics and be constructive in our criticism and in being opposition or those in government. These are things we need to put in place in order for Magufulification to actually take place. So I will stop there for the moment.
Thank you, Sekou. You know, I love this program, Roundtable Africa, where we take a Pan-African approach on the issues that matter. You are right. You emphasize the point I was making earlier on protest. Let me emphasize the point you made about our political institutions. They are the obstacles to Magufulification because in their nature, they crave for praises. You are right. The opposition is copying George Weah. When CDC gather at the party headquarters, CDC sings. When UP gathers, UP sings. What is the difference? You talk about how the party in Tanzania, they were educating the young people, conscientizing them, telling them how to become men and women for a country that they want to serve. Is that the case in Liberia? Let me share something with you. We had kids and young people that were with the Herring Costa. They called it COP. Those guys left and joined CDC. And they called themselves CDC COP. What kind of thinking is that? So I really don't, they are all copying from each other the very wrong things. I have criticized political parties in Liberia for not having website in the 21st century. And not to blow our horn yet, Focus on Liberia is just an online media institution, but we have our little website so you can see what we do. We have government agencies in Liberia that don't even have website. Where is that coming from? It's coming from the very political parties that don't have websites. Where are we getting this idea from that when the man is a minister and I'm working in his office, I'm going to say, yes, sir, boss man. Where is that foolishness coming from? Another human being will submit themselves to another and worship the other as a god. Where are these things coming from? Where are the plans of the political institutions that we can read? You talk about timeliness of their plans. You talk about John Magufuli in 3 days, reform and transform an entire hospital in 3 days. And how in less than 6 years, he turned a country that was struggling economically into a middle income country. Time, time, and time. First plans. What are the plans that our political parties have? The CPP have been around going to 4 years now, if I can argue that. It doesn't have a website. Its so-called framework it has released is not anywhere for you to see on a website. No. Cummings is in there. Bouaka, they call him the edited statement with 40 years of experience. I don't know if he's stuck in the past when there were no websites. Is he still living in the past? And he wants to be president in the 21st century. And people follow him and fantasize about him. They got to do better. Liberians have suffered for so long. If Liberians believe that Joshua is no good for us, how will we know that the opposition is good for us? By the things the opposition bloc does. But they are the one doing the very things that Joshua are doing. Feeding candidates that are corrupt to the core, book by other reports. CDC pulled forth Abu Kamara, a man according to LSCC report, who was paying back money that he has taken. They put it on the ticket. CDC came by and put Bernie Samuka on the ticket. How is the CPP different, rather? How is the CPP different by doing so? And so, Sekou, you were very much point on there. But folks, if you want to call, we have a phone line here. We have a phone number here that you can call. Here is the number. You can call that number if you want to participate. We will take your call. So while we are waiting for your call, let me roll in the final question here, Sekou, and that is, what are the field theories of development in Africa and Liberia?
Thank you very much. So, like we've had a lot of programs here and we discuss the word development a lot. And we always say here, development is a process, is a mindset, is a culture, is a paradigm, is a way of seeing things. It's not an event. You don't have development one day by having one big meeting and then you got developed. No, it's a process. And it begins first by setting up the paradigm, a developmental paradigm, a cultural paradigm, and people follow that paradigm and achieve the result. Now, what are the failed developmental theories in Africa? The first one is called co-development. The co-development theory was brought by World Bank, IMF, and European Union and given to African leaders. What does the co-development theory say? The co-development theory says that Africans are poor countries and they are so poor that they cannot support themselves. They will not be able to even pay their civil service. They don't have industries. So the only way they can develop is to acknowledge that they are poor and then submit themselves to World Bank and IMF to help them to come out of their economic difficulties. And they need to produce enough raw material as possible to supply the industrial world. And in return, they will receive aid and they will receive money. And that eventually, as the Western world is developing, they will develop along with the Western world, the co-development theory. So leaders who accept this theory, they now come back to their people and say, we are very poor. We don't have money. So we need to beg America. We need to lay down on the IMF. So let us create a development theory called PROPO. Let us develop a development theory called from bed to mattress. Then Alassane Ouattara in Africa said, let's develop a theory called emergence. That is emerging. That means you're coming out of the slum and emerging. So the co-development theory,
it's like a begging mentality.
A begging mentality. It's a mentality that said, I am defeated. I acknowledge that I am weak and I have no power and I have to go into submission mode so that the powerful country will help me out. But now here's the thing, in the jungle, the lion does not help the deer how to escape.
No.
If the lion does that, then it is committing suicide because it will die with hunger. So the Western world said, now that you accepted that you are poor and you have to depend on, we will make sure you never industrialize. Yeah. We will make sure you keep taking loan that you can't pay. We will make sure we devalue your currency and you keep coming back to us. That's the state we in. Co-development is a failed developmental theory given to Africans, and all these Harvard University graduate economists passing all around, they will do nothing until they switch around that theory with Pan-African revolution, which will say the opposite, that we are not poor, we are in fact rich. The poor people are the industrial world because without our raw material, you cannot be industrialized. So we are the rich ones enriching you and impoverishing ourselves. So the slogan and the mindset needed to change in Africa. So Magufuli, in his African Union Summit, he said, we should start talking about poor Africa and development. Africa is rich. Africa have poor leaders, and they are poor in the head. But Africans are rich. They have been deprived of their riches and their richness. So that is the paradigm that we need to change around. So the core development theory is a failed theory. The second development theory they have in Africa is, they said, development before cultural and industrial revolution. That is, they say industrial and cultural revolution.
Sekou,
yes.
Hold that thought. Let me bring in this caller who's been waiting on the line for so long. Caller, your name and where you are joining us from.
Hello?
Yes, hello. Your name and where you joining us from.
Okay, my name is Dimas Kakulape. I'm joining you guys from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, United States of America.
Welcome to Roundtable Africa here. I focus on Liberia. Quickly to the issue.
Quickly to the issue. I'd like to just contribute this to what Sekou is talking today, what he's mentioning today. I'm thinking about what is wrong with Liberian, we who are in the rural area, in the country, what is wrong with us electing our own superintendent? I feel that if we don't elect our own superintendent, that has been one of the obstacles of the development of our country, the rural Liberia. Because if the president appoints a superintendent, that superintendent is not in the interest of the people in the country. So there will be no development, and development has not been that way. Besides, the Article 3 of our Constitution keeps saying Liberia is a unitary nation. What are we sitting down and say we are multi-party state, but we still living out to the standard to what the Constitution defines Liberia to be? So I think we should focus, should really look at Article 3 of the Constitution and superintendent election in Liberia. Thank you.
That is a solid point there. Thank you so very much for bringing that to our attention. We will find time to look into that. So Sekou, as you were saying, the second, look of development in Liberia, in Africa.
This cultural revolution, development first before cultural revolution and industrialization. Now, what do they mean by this? They say, look, when you say development and what have you, it means that we should bring in, take Ebomaf loan, take this other loan, and build few kilometers of road, and what have you. Eventually, Liberians will become educated, and then the country will develop. They think that things will just happen by accident. That's why for 100 years, we've been doing the Roman road in the simply. Any development you see, any country is being consciously planned. China have a 100-year plan. It's called the One Belt, One Road, One Belt plan. 100 to 200 years, they are working on it. Where is the 50, 20, 40-year plan to industrialize Liberia, to bring about a cultural revolution? What is the plan? We were colonized, fine. We speak foreign language, fine. But what's the plan? To get out of these and bring about a vibrant, conscious society. They said, no, let us build these few roads, and then bring in these foreign companies. By these foreign companies come and bring few Arab people. You'll sit around the table, drink tea, and take picture. They say, by doing all this, eventually the country will develop. I'm saying the first step should have been cultural revolution, industrialization. The rest will follow. You don't begin the other way around. All other nations, the Europeans, that's how they started. Cultural revolution, industrial revolution. And what you need to understand what cultural revolution is and what industrial revolution is, and target those key projects. If I'm serious about electricity, for example, I want to industrialize Liberia, I don't waste my time putting few poles around. When I come, I have a plan. Either I'm building a hydroelectric dam or I'm building a nuclear power plant. I come with a specific plan. And nothing is a surprise. And I have to know exactly how I go. For another 100 years, my name will be remembered that I electrified the entire country. I don't waste my time during election or counter tour and put few poles around. We are playing, it's a joke.
It is a joke, and a joke in disgrace.
It's a joke.
That a leader can come to power. Let me hijack you here, Sekou, without a plan, and you think you can take small solar panel lights around the counties.
No.
And yes, the tragedy of it, our people are dancing to that nonsense. How the hell you plant posts in the street, then people don't have lights in their homes? So a student in my hometown of Southtown comes from school. He's like, okay, I can't use my jack-o'-lantern anymore. And where does that student go? In the street. Why if it is raining? No light in the house, but light in the street? Are we telling our people to go and live in the streets now? But it is a debate, but I know for sure it does not project seriousness when it comes to development. Light must be in the homes primarily and not in the streets. People don't live in the street. They live in homes where they spend most of their life, where they need the light to steady, to power their devices so that they can do the things that they need to do. Sekou, you are pointing on that last question, the idea of our leaders. Can you imagine how brilliant it would be that a leader will come to power, put professionals in the area of technology and tell them, hey, how do we connect our country by internet? How do we put our government, bring our government to the people through the power of the internet? Go to work, bring me a plan, attach a cost to it. We will find the money, put a timeline into it also. How do we implement this step by step? What's wrong with a leader coming to power to say, look, I'm bringing Liberian professionals. If it means that you will work with other professionals around the world, we can contract people, do so. Draw me a road plan for Liberia. Infrastructural plan for Liberia. Draw me that from point A to point B, bridges. Tell me the cost. And let us take it to the national legislature. Let us make a law. And that the budget concerning development must be appropriated on the basis of those development plans. Then we are acting as adults and serious-minded people. Now, when one is elected and come with Propo and come with Vision 2020, and then you think you are serious, draw a national development plan for our country. Let the legislature vote on it. It is on that basis they should make appropriation of the budget.
Absolutely. I said, how can, I don't even understand with all these PhD holders, with all these guys that went to school with all the certificate, like you think the only way to conscientize a nation is to tell them that you have a pro-poor agenda? Look, people are not poor. They are being impoverished by a system, a bad system. So when you come, remind them, if I go into a house where the people have been blindfolded and they are lying down on gold and diamond, I do not tell them that you are blind and whatever. I begin to remind them that you are actually lying down on gold. You are rich people All you need to do is to remove the veil and then realize your condition. So I don't need to come and tell them that you are poor and what have you. No, I will remind them, rise up and work. We are rich. Let us utilize what we have. We are rich people. I give them a positive mindset. I give them a revolutionary mindset. I give them a mindset of self-determination. I don't tell them that they are very poor people, that they need some kind of charity. No, we are not poor. We are lying down on gold and diamond. We have been impoverished by that 1%. That's the problem. So look for a different philosophy that reminds us of our richness and how we need to possess it. So go back to the third point. African countries don't realize, especially Liberia, that freedom is not free. When you have independence, you need to safeguard it jealously because resources is scarce. Resources are scarce around the world. So there is a struggle for natural resources. People are ready to sacrifice generations just to be able to take hold of the resources. So the first step towards development should have been military and economic sovereignty. African countries think that development is possible without military and economic sovereignty. When you play with these two, you are going to become jackass and work for the rest of the world. Nowhere, no country is joking. Natural resources, as they get more scarce and industry need more, they are ready to pressurize other countries, destabilize this country to take the natural resources. This is the international politics we are in, and nobody should be joking about that. There are no friends. Allies is based on interest, and you must safeguard your sovereignty and your development with economic and military sovereignty. If you don't do that, you can never lift up your people out of poverty, because poverty is an industry. It enriches the rich countries and it gives cheap labor and it allows people to take natural resources very cheap. So who wants to give away that industry? Nobody.
Sekou, you are right. To pull it graphically, poverty today is the slavery of yesterday. The slave masters will not let slavery go, because that was the way they could maintain their political power and their economic power. The labor was cheap and free. They were eating well as they enslave their fellow human being. That is what leaders are using today. Let's keep them in abject poverty. Let's give them little or no education so that they can be empowered to challenge us. And when they do the budget, they do it in a way that bulk of the budget go to them. Bulk of the budget goes to them. That's what they do in Liberia. If you look at our budget, almost 80% go to recurring expenses. That's government operation. The little that is left that goes to development, they chase it. Our senator chase county development funds, that $200,000. They chase it. They will chase it. Even down to the president, they will chase the money they have allotted for development. How they do it, somebody might be wondering, don't you know that some of them have these contractor companies? The companies, they have interest in those companies. They are giving these contracts to companies that will give them kickback. So after they have given themselves bulk of the budget, the little that they have set aside, they run after it. True companies that they have connection to, true companies that they give these contracts, because the companies will take a percentage and give it back to them. Such is the case in Liberia, many African countries, and this is unfortunate for our people. Well, Sekou, we have to leave it here. Let me read a few comments here so we can call it a day. And this one is from Mohammed Lamin, watching from Atlanta. Thanks for joining us, Mohammed. Please do always joining us. Donzo Musa, I think Liberians are getting better in thinking. I agree with that. But how many? How many? That's my question. Mevina Dukle, thanks, my brother. You are so right. Well, we are always right here. 0.1% that we get it wrong. Augustine G. Mantor Sr., Mr. Serious, come do your part, then all will be whole. Call me, I will do my part when my time comes. You know, according to Shakespeare, Shakespeare told us that the war is a stage, and every man has his own time to play. When my time comes, you will see the serious man. You don't want to see the serious man in my eyes and in my voice. You will see it in my action. People who are around me know that for a fact. Done so again. I think if every president undertake one project in their respective period of presidency, example, Mr. Weah should take his entire time on electricity, forget about roads project and road project to the next president. That is a simple idea he's proposing. He say, you know, say the money is not enough, Mr. Weah. If everybody will cry, let them cry. Focus on electricity so that when you leave, we will not have to worry about it. That is a simplistic way of pulling it. I don't know why. But Sekou, time is fast spent. We have to come to the close of this broadcast. Let me bring you in for your closing comments. I think we did justice to the topic, Magufulification. Close us.
Thank you very much, Brother Sonny. So thanks to our viewers, and once again we are coming to the end of this episode of Roundtable Africa. Today's topic, Magufulification, is very important. It's not just to criticize because we just want to criticize. We are trying to diagnose the problem of Africa. A brother wrote a book, a Liberian man. He said, "Rich land, poor people."
Yeah, that's Mr. Jackson, Samuel Jackson. Yeah.
Samuel Jackson. It is a curse to be rich and be poor at the same time. You cannot reconcile the two. The Creator cannot bless you with everything on earth. Then you are poor, in the poorest among the nations. While you sleep on diamond and gold, either something is wrong with you or something is wrong with the leadership. They said if you bake bread and flour and you put yeast in it and you expect it to rise, if it doesn't rise, either something is wrong with the flour or something is wrong with the yeast. There's no two way about it. Either something is wrong with Africans as a whole or something is wrong with the system that's used to govern African people. And I agree with the second. Something is wrong with the system that we are using to govern ourselves. So we need to look into it. Magufulification is a powerful developmental theory. Within 6 years alone, the man was able to lift up a poor country into a middle income country. That's very huge. That's very huge. You don't find it very often around. Such leaders don't come by so easily. We can apply this theory. It's possible. Yeah, it's possible. We got the resources. We have the people. We have young generation. The Africans have the youngest population on the planet. What stopped us from transforming this continent? This is the internet age, the age of information. If we do not utilize this age to pressurize our leadership, to avoid armed conflict and go into dialogue and push for progressive ideas, we will regret the next century.
Thank you. Sekou Kelleh is the chief discussant of Roundtable Africa. I'm Anthony C., your host. And this is how I'm going to close on this very, very important topic and how we can apply it to our dear country, Liberia. I would use just one of the questions that Sekou answered. And that one is question number 3. How can we Magufulify Liberia? Sekou is right, and I agree. According to Sekou, something that I agree with, in order for us to Magufulify Liberia, to use the development approach of John Magufuli to turn Liberia into that middle income country, a leader must be against imperialistic investment, meaning investment that are not in the interest of our people, instead in the interest of the investors who have come to our country for profit making, but because our leaders are not good at negotiating, exploit our country. B, that leader or our leaders must be against corruption. That one stings like something you know. That leader or our leaders must be patriotic. It shouldn't be that somebody who came to power and start breaking homes down and building them in no time and talking 3 years before he could show up. to his people that he has budgeted 200,000 while he walking away with millions along with his friends at the legislature. Sad, right? That leader must be able to industrialize the country. You must industrialize your country. That leader must be the man of justice. And that leader, like Sekou said, must do away with wasteful spending. Spending huge amount of money on plane ticket, flying first class, traveling with 50 to 60% on your entourage, flying private jet, buying cars that are worth around 200,000. When you know your people don't have light, they don't have food to eat, when you know the schools are in dilapidating conditions, and the president saw a school right there in the heart of Monrovia, Thomas High, Totman High, of all schools. After Ellen left it in that condition, a son of the soil will come and will not do anything, and he went to see the school. It was a disgrace. But yet, that son of the soil did not only build one house for himself, he built condominiums for himself. That's what he did. He built movie theater. He built recording studio. He built a church. You want me to keep going? And when we said these things, some people say, oh, you hate the man. But the man was not doing those things first until he became our leader. That is how he poured his issues in my mouth, because he's messing with my country, and I will not shut up like some of you do, because I'm not hungry for that gravy. That gravy is not good for me when my brother is hungry. Well, I have to leave it there. I don't want to be fighting today. Sekou, thank you for yet another exciting edition of Roundtable Africa. The song is We Are One Liberians. It said that song is taking us home. I see you next Wednesday for another exciting edition of Roundtable Africa. Here, I focus on Liberia like no other. Bye, folks.
We are Liberians.